Welcome to the Stepping On Evaluation Forms training. My name is Erin Lacerte. I'm with the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, and I will be the State Survey Coordinator. The purpose of the project evaluation is to collect how many participants are in the classes and how many classes those participants are attending. We are looking for demographic information, and we are also looking to collect data on the physical assessment known as the Timed Up and Go test. We are looking for information on this to see if they progress from the beginning of the class to the end of the class. We also want to know how the participants hear about the class, what are their goals, if they were referred to the class by their doctors, and if they would recommend the class to others. We will also be looking for improvements in their health status, their physical activity level, their confidence, their activity restrictions, and their emotional health. The forms that we will be collecting are the Stepping On Attendance Log completed by the class leader throughout the class, the participant entry form completed by the class participants at the first class, the participant exit form completed by the participants at the last class, the TUG log completed by the class leader at the first and last class, and the optional form, which is the TUG record, which the class leader would complete and give back to the participants. Participants may decide that they don't want to complete the surveys. They may not want to answer all the questions on the surveys, and they may decide that they don't want to share their TUG times. If they do decide to complete everything, it's important to let them know that their forms will be stored in a locked cabinet here at the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. When the forms are sent to CDC for evaluation, all of the names and phone numbers are removed and they are assigned a participant ID, and the information is never reported for an individual. Here's a brief overview of the program that you are welcome to share with the participants. It just goes over the information of what the data is used for and how it is kept confidential. And this form can be found on the Older Adult Falls Coalition website. And I will show you how to get to that website and to all the forms at the end of the presentation. This is the Stepping On Attendance Log. At the top of the form, you'll see space for the implementation site, start date, end date, and class time, which will all be completed by the class leader. The site ID is something that I will assign as the State Survey Coordinator, so you can leave that space blank. You'll see a space for the participant name and phone number, and then this space here is for the participant attendance. If you'll just put in a check mark for the days that they're there and an A for the days that they're absent. The zero column will be if you decide to do a zero session, which is when you ask the participants to come in before the class actually begins to do the forms and assessments. And then over here you can include any notes about why the participant may have some extended absences. At the bottom of the form, there's a section for the leader name and phone number as well as their attendance. And again, the leaders can just put a check on the days they're there, and if they're absent and they have a sub, the sub can just initial inside that box. Here's a participant entry form. At the top, you'll see a space for the date and the participant name and also how they heard about the program. And then there's also a question asking if they were referred from someone from their doctor's office. And then some general health questions as well as demographic information. You'll see at the very bottom of the form, there is a space for the participant ID. You can leave this space blank. This is something that I will fill out for you. The second page of the participant entry form asks some questions about if the participant is restricting their physical activities because of difficulties in balance, if they feel that they can keep themselves from falling, and what they hope to get out of the class. This is the participant exit form. Again, at the top you will see a space for the date and participant name, and then the same general health questions from the entry form, and then also some questions about if the participant feels that this program will help to prevent them from falling in the future, if they've talked to their doctor about the program, and if they would recommend this program to a family member or friend. Again, there is a space at the bottom for the participant ID, and we'll use these to match up all the forms and assessments. The Timed Up and Go is a functional assessment that we will measure the progress from the beginning to the last class. Here's a brief training video from the CDC on how to perform the Timed Up and Go test.
The Timed Up and Go, or TUG, tests functional mobility. To perform the test, you need a chair and a stopwatch, or a wristwatch with a second hand. Have your patient start by sitting on the chair, feet flat on the floor, one foot slightly in front of the other, and hands on the armrests of the chair. Put a line on the floor 10 feet or 3 meters away. Ask your patient to stand up from the chair and walk at her normal pace to the line on the floor when you say go. When she reaches the line, she should turn around, walk back to the chair, and sit down. Be sure to start timing on the signal go, and even if your patient has not started to move, and stop timing at the moment she sits back down in the chair. While she's walking, stand between the chair and the line in case the patient loses her balance and you need to assist. Observe and note the patient's posture, width of the base of support, step height, stride length, arm swing, and path. When the test is complete, record the time. Also record whether the patient used an assistive device, and if so, what type. A community-dwelling older adult who takes more than 12 seconds to complete the tug is at increased risk of falling.
There are several forms available to help you complete the tug, such as the Tug Leader Protocol. This gives all the instructions that you need to complete the tug test, as well as some safety information. And this form will be available on the Coalition website. There's also a tug script for the leaders, so until you're comfortable explaining to the participant how to complete the tug, this will kind of help you, give you some talking points on what you need to tell them. And here we have the tug log, which is the log that we will ask that you send back into us. At the top you'll see there is a space for the class ID, which I will fill in for you. The leaders, dates, chair seat height, and whether or not it's an armchair will all be completed by the class leaders. Over here we have a space for the participant name and ID. Again, I will fill in the participant ID. If at all possible, it's good to have the participant's name match up in order to the attendance log. Here we have spaces for the first and last tug session, as well as spaces for the administrator, leader, or therapist completing the assessment. Please record the times, including tenths of a second. And over here we have a space for comments. This is a great area to be able to record information if the participant is walking with a limp, if they're using an assistive device, if they have an abnormal gait, or if they experience any kind of vertigo. The tug personal record is a form that can be completed by the class leader at the first and the last class and will actually be given back to the participant, and it's just a good way to give them feedback on their progress in the class. The most up-to-date versions of these forms will be kept on the Older Adult Falls Coalition website, which is www.olderadultfallscoalitionco.com, and I'll take you to that website now. This is the Older Adult Falls Coalition website, which has a lot of great resources for older adult falls prevention. And if we go over here to the Stepping On tab and scroll down, we will find all of the forms that we talked about today. So during the first class or zero session, we ask that the leaders double check to ensure that you have all the correct forms for the class, write the participant and leader names on the attendance log, explain to the participants the reason for collecting the data and the protection of their information, distribute the participant entry forms and then collect completed forms, do a quick review for clarity and completeness, take attendance for the first class, explain, conduct, and record the tug scores on the tug log. After the first class, we ask the leaders to submit a copy of the first class attendance, the tug log, and the participant entry forms within 48 hours of the class. And then as participants may join late, if they complete the entry forms then, we ask that the leaders send them in as completed. Once I receive the forms, I will check over the return forms. If I have any questions, I will contact the class leaders. I will take all the names and phone numbers off the forms, insert the participant IDs, and send forms to the CDC Evaluation Center. All of the forms will be stored here at CDPHE in a locked cabinet. At the last class, we ask the leaders to provide the participant exit forms to participants, collect the forms, review for clarity and completeness, conduct and record the final tug, and record on the tug log. And if you decide to do so, you can provide the tug personal record to the participants. Once I receive the forms, I will check over the forms, clarify anything I need to with the class leaders, remove names and phone numbers, insert IDs, and send forms to the CDC Evaluation Center. Again, I will keep a copy of the forms here in a locked cabinet at the Department of Public Health. You can send the forms to the State Survey Coordinator however it is easiest for you, by email, fax, or mail. Here's all the contact information you'll need to send in the forms. And if at any time throughout the process you have any questions, please call me at the number at the bottom of the screen. Thank you for all that you do to prevent falls in older adults, and thank you for participating in our program.